How's it going? Today we're going to make some Detroit deep dish pizza. Super simple. We're going to put 1 cup of water into the mixer. This is warm water, about 80 degrees or so. Then we're going to slowly dump this into the mixer as the dough hook works on slow speed. All of our pizza doughs mix the same, 1 cup of water to 1 package, which makes 2 pizzas. You can do this by hand. It works just as well, but the mixer is helpful if you have one, so it's up to you which way you want to do it. We'll start by adding the water to the mixer here. We're going to turn it on slow speed. Open your package. By the way, if you save this tab, it works as a label for your dough mixes if you're making multiple styles in one day. We're going to raise our bowl up. Then we're going to slowly start adding the dough mix to the mixer. By adding it slowly, we're just letting the water and the mix incorporate little bits at a time. You can dump it all in. Eventually you'll achieve the same result, but this does help at the beginning to get it mixed up a little easier. Same concept applies if you were going to mix this by hand. Just slowly add to the water and stir it in. We're going to let this go for 8 minutes. We'll be back. We should have a nice round dough ball when we're all done. We are at the 8-minute mark. We're going to go ahead and pull this out of the mixer. Just shut it down. It looks perfectly mixed. We're going to split it into 2 dough balls, and I'm going to put it in some plastic containers. You just take your dough out of the mixer. If you're doing this by hand, take it out of the bowl you're working with. If you wanted to, you could use a scale, but we're just going to use our eyes. Those look about equal to me. Now to make a dough ball, you'll feel this, it's a little tacky. That's good. That's the way it should be. We're turning it inside out 6 or 7 times. And what we're doing now is we're trapping some air inside. It really helps it rise. Also, we're looking for a round pizza at the end. And if we get a nice round dough ball, we will have a nice round pizza. So you just stretch like this. If this is a little sticky on your hands, you can put a little water on your hands. It'll help. Okay, we've got 2 dough balls. We're going to take 2 containers where it will rise. It helps to put a little bit of olive oil in there just to help the dough ball release later. And if you want, you can spread it to the outside just a little bit. Again, it makes it a little easier depending on your container. Then we simply cover these, and in 2 hours we'll be ready to cook pizza. All right, we're making the Urban Slicer Detroit deep dish pizza right now. We're going to stretch it into an 8x8 Lloyd pan. This is my personal favorite, one of the best on the market. It releases the pizza very easily. If you want, any pan will work. You can use a Pyrex, you could use a cake pan, you could use a cookie sheet, but we're going to stick with these today. The Detroit deep dish package will make 2 8x8 pizzas, or you can make 1 10x14. It's a little bit bigger pizza. So this one here, I've already stretched in the pan so you can see what it's going to look like when we're done. We're going to put a little olive oil in there. Then we're going to press it out with our hands, and we're going to let this rise for another hour in the pan. Then we'll cook it. So you just take a little olive oil like this, a paper towel or a cloth. We don't want too much oil in there, or the dough will want to spring back and it won't stick to the corners. So we just wipe it down, but we're making sure we get every corner in there. And then here I'm just using some Glad containers for where I put my dough. We'll take it out of the container, set it in the pan. We're going to stretch it out to the corners. A little olive oil on top will help. It also protects the dough so it doesn't dry out. It's just a matter of getting your hands on it for a nice uniform press into this pan. At this point, the important part is to get it stretched all the way out. It's going to rise in this pan and be perfect when it's all done. Simple as that. We got 1 package which is turned into two 8x8 doughs here. We're just gonna cover them with some plastic wrap, let them sit for about an hour so they rise up in the pan, and then they're gonna be ready to top and bake. We are gonna build these Detroit deep dish pizzas. Now these have been rising for about an hour in these pans. It's safe to take the plastic off. You can see they filled out in the pan a little bit. So on these pizzas, whether you're using a Detroit dish, a Pyrex, a cake pan, or a cookie sheet, it doesn't really matter. What we want to do is put the cheese down first. That'll protect the dough from getting soggy. Another thing that we want to remember is it's best to put the sauce on after you cook the pizza. So we're going to warm our sauce up at the end and add it after we've actually sliced. We're going to put some pepperoni, some sausage, and some cheese while it bakes. You can use raw sausage on this pizza as long as you put it on top. It's cooking long enough that that sausage will get done during the cook. And then we've got some basil, some peppadew peppers, and we're going to put cool ricotta dollops on the top as a finish after the pizza is cooked, along with the warm sauce. I call this the 8 Mile Pie. So on these, when you use these Lloyd pans, the cheese needs to get all the way to the edge, and I'm going to show you why here in just a second. What we're looking for is around the edge of these pizzas to be a caramelized, sort of grilled cheese tasting crust. On these pans, you can see it's shaped not quite square. So what happens is the cheese melts and it actually wraps around the side of the dough and it'll caramelize while it bakes. We'll put some pepperonis on. We'll do 16 pepperonis, 4x4. These are two 8x8 pans. And when we're done, we'll cut it into 8 slices. These pepperonis in the store, I know Hormel makes a brand, and there's some other ones, but they're called cup and char pepperonis. They still have the casing on the outside edge. You'll see when they bake, they'll actually curl up, and the juice from the oil in the pepperoni will hang back in that cup. Kind of a poor man's sausage. Just grab some hot sausage and you can pinch out about dime size. And we're just going to fill in the gaps here. Again, raw is best. It'll bake in. You'll get all the flavor of that sausage into the pizza. All right, I think we're ready to go into the oven. All right, we're going to put both of these in the oven. It's running at 500 degrees. We're going to set them side by side, and we're going to check them in 8 minutes, and I'm going to rotate them left to right just to make sure it's even. Every oven has its hot spots. So we're going to leave them 8 minutes, come back and check. It has been 8 minutes, so we're going to rotate these left to right. Check it out, you can already see those pepperonis cupping up. We're just going to turn side to side. We're looking for a nice caramelized edge. These still need a little bit of time. We're going to check them again in 5 minutes and see how it looks after that. It's been 16 total minutes. We're checking out on these Detroit pizzas. Man, that's perfect. We've got the cheese is getting some color. You can see the caramelization happening out here on the edge. These are going to be great. We're going to call it done. Go down, slice them, put our extra toppings on, give it a taste. These two Detroit deep dish pizzas are ready to go. I'm going to show you how to get them out of the pan. This is a dough scraper. You can also use a knife or a spatula. It helps to just run along the edge, loosen it up. What we're trying to do is preserve that caramelized crust that's around the edge. Once you get it loose, just lift and remove. And when we get both of these out, we'll take the camera on a ride around that outside edge so you can see what we're talking about with that nice, airy pan pizza crust where the cheese melted down all the way around this edge here. That dark brown is caramelized cheese, and oh baby, it's going to be amazing. So we're going to do some finishing toppings. First thing I want to do is slice, and we're going to go diagonal first. Then we're going to cut across. You can hear how crispy it is, but it's only crispy on the edge. In the middle, it's light and airy. So this is a very unique pizza, and it doesn't matter what pan you do it in, but I will say these Detroit pans really do work. So you can also cut it crisscross first, and then go at the diagonal. What we're doing here though is we're getting 8 slices, and every single person is going to get part of that edge. All right, something cool here. We'll show you. These are peppadew peppers. They're like a roasted red pepper, but they have a little more sweetness. They're pickled. They're almost like a sweet pickle with some pepper flavor. They also add, as you can see, some really cool color. Makes for a gorgeous pizza. All right, so we have our reds. We're going to take that warm sauce and we're going to put just a little bit on each slice, like so. I want to make sure everyone gets some sauce. And again, putting this sauce on after the cook will help prevent the dough from getting soggy. We want it to be light, airy, crispy on the edges. And you can even skip the sauce. I mean, this pizza has enough flavor on it if you so choose, but I do recommend it. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is add some white ricotta dollops. These cool ricotta dollops will add a whole nother dimension of flavor to your pizza. And you can do this on any pizza. Works really well on these Detroits. This is a piping bag. If you don't have a piping bag, you can put your ricotta in a Ziploc bag and just cut a hole on the end of it. All right. And finally, we're going to finish with some basil, fresh cut basil. Actually, this is partially dehydrated basil. This stuff is great to keep in the fridge, super easy. There you have it, the finished 8 Mile Pie by Urban Slicer Pizza Works. Time to dig into this thing, but first, let's take a look. I want you to see that airy, bubbly, delicious crust that is in there. And this dough doesn't make a dense pizza. This is super soft, tender. Oh man, layers. That's where it's at right there, brother. This edge, sweet mercy. Good stuff.